Welcome back to the final day of my series where I took a $50 grocery haul and I'm turning that into 20 servings of nutritious, delicious meals that are easy to make, full of veggies, full of protein. It's 5 recipes that each make 4 servings, and this is the final day. This is recipe number 5. I'm gonna link all 4 recipes I've posted so far in the description. They're all on my channel. And the intro video where I showed the grocery list, we went grocery shopping, we talked about substitutions and things like that. So if you wanna find the grocery list or you have a question about anything that's on the list, I'll link that video and then all of the recipes. And then subscribe to my Substack newsletter because I'm gonna send out a recap for free, basically just everything that you need to follow along, and you'll have it all in one spot. So for the final recipe, we're doing another plant-based recipe featuring tofu, which is one of my favorite budget-friendly proteins and plant-based proteins. So I'm gonna talk through what all the ingredients are. This recipe is gonna be a spicy tofu rice bowl with a cucumber salad. So delicious, the cucumber salad, do not skip, it's so, so good. So you're gonna notice that we're basically just using everything on the list that hasn't been used at this point. My goal with this series is to use up every single ingredient as much as possible, and we are basically doing that this week. I think we'll have extra rice, but that's pretty much it. And that's the way that I make this grocery list affordable, is reusing the same ingredients multiple times. We're reusing rice, cabbage, fresh herbs, vegetables, and then we're keeping the same pantry staples for every recipe. Also, I've been doing this series since January of last year. I've done, I think this is my 9th one. So if you like this, if you've been following along this week and you've been making the recipes and you really like it, I have 8 other of these. So head to my website, you can go to the grocery series section. I also have it linked on the pinned post on my Substack. So you can find all the recipes, you can find the lists, and all the videos are on my Instagram and TikTok too, which is Jenn Eats Good with 3 O's. All right, now let's get into the ingredients. So we're gonna be using the rest of our green onion, the rest of our cilantro, the English cucumber, we're gonna use the whole thing, the other half of the jalapeno pepper from our tacos, the final half of our lime, our last clove of garlic, our basmati rice, the rest of our chopped cabbage, and of course tofu. I got firm tofu, which is what I usually recommend. For our pantry staples, we're gonna be using olive oil and sesame oil for this one, rice vinegar and coconut aminos. You can also use soy sauce or tamari. Just look at my recipe notes when it comes to the salt, maple syrup and sriracha. And then for spices, salt, ground ginger, and red pepper flakes. Very simple. So we have just a little bit of prep to do. We're gonna press our tofu and then we're gonna cube it up. And while the tofu is pressing, normally I would chop up the cabbage, but I've already chopped it up. We're just gonna chop up our cilantro, our cucumber, and our green onions. Now, I wanna address if you don't like tofu, because I know that people are gonna ask this. Totally fine. I, first of all, recommend you try tofu if you've never tried it and it's not a restriction or allergy problem. But if you don't like it, your kids don't like it, you're cooking for them, you can replace the tofu with 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. So that would be my recommendation. You could also probably do some salmon. It's obviously just gonna vary for cook times. But again, we love tofu. I'm gonna show you how to make it taste really good in this recipe. So starting with the tofu, I just like to put it on a plate. You can do a cutting board if you have a tofu press, use that of course, but I just drained the water from the package. And now I'm just gonna wrap it in a kitchen towel. You can also do paper towels, but it's a little more planet friendly. And do you have to press the tofu? I do recommend it if you're just using this like firm block, the basic one. There is a high protein tofu that I get from Trader Joe's that I've noticed I do not need to press. So if you're shopping at Trader Joe's, I think it's an extra $1 or $2. You could get that, but we're just gonna press it today. So now that I have the tofu wrapped in the towel, I'm just gonna add a heavy object on top. This is just like a weighted press, but you can use, like sometimes I use my cast iron pan or something like that. It's gonna make the tofu a little bit easier to cut, and it's gonna make the texture of the tofu once it's baked a little bit better. Now I'm gonna let that press for 20 to 30 minutes, and while it's pressing, we're gonna prep the rest of our ingredients, chop those veggies up, and then the tofu will be ready to cut into cubes and bake. Now with that prep done, I'm gonna put together the cucumber salad so it can marinate in the fridge while we cook the tofu. I'm gonna start by doing the dressing at the bottom so everything can really sit in there. Starting with 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, a teaspoon of ground ginger. You could also do fresh ginger here if you want. And this is optional, but I'm gonna do a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Now I'm just gonna whisk this sauce together. It's so simple, but a sauce like this is one of my favorite things. I love a sesame oil based sauce. It smells so good. And now we're just gonna add the veggies in. So this is the entire cucumber I'm adding to the bowl, the green onion, and about a half cup of cilantro. So good. I'm just gonna mix this up. I love a no lettuce salad. This is also pretty similar if you followed, I think it was my March 2023 series. I did a cucumber salad kind of like this. People really liked that one, as did I. I totally forgot to add the cabbage to the salad. Just adding about 1.5 cups to 2 cups. It really depends on how much you have left. Say about 2 cups, and mix that in. Okay, now into the fridge. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes of the tofu pressing. We're ready to chop it up. All right, we wanna do about 1 inch to a 1/2 inch cube. So I usually cut it like this first, and then I cut it into rows. Try to make them as even as possible so they all cook at the same time. Down the middle. Cutting down the middle first is a trick I learned when I worked at a bakery and we would cut brownies. So that's how you get evenly sized squares. Now I'm just gonna add this tofu to a medium-sized sheet pan. I'm gonna drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil. I find it's easiest to coat with clean hands. It can fall apart if you're not careful. If you don't have a good nonstick, just put some parchment paper down, but this one I don't really need it. And you just don't want any of them to be touching so they get nice and crispy and roasty. And these are going into the oven at 400. And at the same time, we're cooking the rice. Making a great tofu, in my opinion, is about making a great sauce. So we're gonna make a simple sauce using a lot of those same pantry staples. And we're adding in sriracha this time. So we got 2 tablespoons of sriracha, 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos, 2 tablespoons of sesame oil, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, a tablespoon of maple syrup, a teaspoon of ginger, and let's mix that up. Okay, let's just taste it and then salt to taste. If you're using the soy sauce or tamari, you're probably not gonna wanna add any salt. Even with the coconut aminos, I think I'm just gonna leave it as is. It's very tasty. Okay, and then the last thing to do while the tofu is baking in the oven is to make a little cilantro jalapeno sauce that's gonna be drizzled on top of the bowls. So again, we're gonna use some sesame oil, 2 tablespoons, rice vinegar. We're gonna do that last clove of garlic, the other half of the jalapeno pepper, 1/2 cup of cilantro, and the juice of half a lime. I'm gonna start with about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and then I'm just gonna pulse this. I'm just gonna add a little bit of water to thin it out so it's more of a drizzling sauce. Do about a 1/4 cup. And just a little bit more salt. All right, the tofu is looking beautiful. Let's just get it sauced up with that sauce we made. Are these not the most perfect little tofu cubes you've ever seen? So I'm just gonna add it to a big mixing bowl. And just pouring the sauce on top. Add a little bit at a time. You might not need all of it, depending on how saucy you want them to be. The rice is also done, so we've got everything ready. Let's plate it up. This looks really, really good. We got all the colors, lots of green. Another plant-based meal for this series that I cannot wait to dig into, so let's try it. So good, oh my gosh. The flavors are so good. It's a little bit spicy. There's a little bit of sweet from the maple syrup, and the contrast of the acidity and all that lime with all the other warm flavors is so, so good. The cucumber salad honestly makes it for me. The sesame oil in it just comes out so strong. Everything's so good. If you are a tofu hater and you've never tried tofu or you're scared of it, you gotta try it in this recipe. It's so simple. Literally just roasted it with olive oil, made that simple sauce, and it makes it so, so flavorful. I'm gonna go sit down to eat this, but before I do that, I just wanna recap everything from this week, from this series. If you're looking for the grocery list, I'm gonna link it in the description. It's from the first video for this week where I went shopping, I talked about the substitutes, I talked about all the different ingredients, what we're gonna be making. Any question that you have is probably answered. And then I posted one recipe video per day this week. I will link all of those in the description. They're gonna be on my channel, so make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube. And if you want to get a roundup email of everything all in one spot, the grocery list, links to all the recipes, my commonly asked questions, all of that, subscribe to my Substack newsletter. That's also linked in the description. And follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Jenn Eats Good with 3 O's. Thank you so much for watching this on YouTube for the first time. If you're new to my channel, thank you for watching. And if you've been hanging out with me for a while, thanks for coming over here and seeing the long form version of this, being able to show you guys all the details of the recipe for the first time and really talk through everything and just hang out with you for a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed watching. If you have any feedback at all on these YouTube videos, I am all ears. I'm still so new and I'm sure there'll be a lot of changes over time with how I use YouTube, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's been really fun and I like being able to just talk a little bit more. So all that said, I hope you try getting the grocery list and you try all 5 recipes. And if you do, let me know what you think. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on everything, and thank you so much for being a part of this community.